In this video, we won't be talking about books found at thrift stores. Instead, we're going to talk about the book community in my neighborhood of Uptown here in Chicago. I've lived here for over a year now. I've lived in Chicago for over 12 years, and this is my favorite neighborhood. I absolutely love it here. And so while, we focus a lot on books, there's like 3 thrift stores within walking distance. I want to talk about, we have this free tree library. We have 3 within a block of my apartment. It's wild. So of the 3 though, there's one in particular that is the best. It's clearly the best. And the amount of books that circulate within that one tree library is pretty astonishing. So I'll go over there and I go to all these thrift stores and stuff, but this tree library has some even better books. It's a lot of great taste in the neighborhood. Like whenever I get off the train or I'm just going for a walk, I'll just take a peek in this library. So these libraries are kind of like birdhouses, and they have a latch and a door. You open it, like a clear screen. You open it, and then it's kind of like take a book, leave a book, and there's some good books in there. So I would just like accumulate all these books from this free tree library, this one in particular. But it got to a point where I felt like I was taking more than I was giving. And there's kind of like this, I don't know, this just doesn't sit well with me. So I've had to figure out ways that I can contribute. So there are 2 ways that I contribute to my neighborhood free tree library. And that one is now when I go to thrift stores, I'm looking for trade assets too. So besides books that I'm looking to kind of bulk up my own library, I'm looking for books that I can trade pretty easily and get better books in return with the free library, the tree library. So a lot of those books are books that I would read, but now I'm coming across books more often, like of the same. And, instead of having 5 copies of As I Lay Dying, then why don't I just give some away, and then in turn I can get different books. So it kind of offsets the giving and taking. I should mention, like, every time I go to this tree library, I'm so excited. There's an excitement I get at thrift stores of finding books that I love and that I think that I'll love. But the tree library it's even greater. It's so close to me. It's within a block, and it's like it's like the circulation there is really incredible. So it's fun to put books in there and then see how long it takes for them to kind of go, and you feel like you get even more excitement from that than you do taking books. So that's one of the ways I contribute, is I go to thrift stores, and I also keep my eye out for trade assets. Kind of like a GM of like an American sports franchise. You want to collect cheap assets that are valuable, but you can then exchange or bulk them together to get something better in return. So the second way I contribute is I actually will put my own book in there, Homeless But Human. I'll put signed copies of my own book in there. And so it's Homeless But Human, Life in a Shelter. And what's really full circle and what's really incredible about all of this and living in this neighborhood is that 10 years ago, I voluntarily lived homeless in Chicago to better understand this subject, who it affects, like what goes through someone's mind when they're experiencing homelessness. I was so curious about it, so I did it. And in this time, I spent a good deal of time in this neighborhood. And this neighborhood, within 10 years, has drastically changed. It used to be really dangerous. Like in the book, we're talking about, the laundromat down the street. There's a shooting there, and there's gang activity everywhere. And from these windows, gangs are shooting down on the street. Like, not good. And then now I live here, and I love it here, and it's so interesting. This neighborhood is so interesting. All the different types of people. You got like it's a you have different areas, but Argyle is Vietnamese, so there's a bunch of like Vietnamese restaurants and stores and shops. You got like African immigrants. There's a gay community. There's just like everybody, everybody that's so it's like this microcosm of the world in a way. And we have these old historic buildings and high rises, and we're right by the lake. It's really interesting. I think about it every time I walk out of the apartment. Every time I'm walking down the street, there's not a day that passes that I don't think about how did this neighborhood become so welcoming and so awesome within this short amount of time, within 10 years. And you'll notice artwork around the area. We have a lot of murals and public art. It's so cool. And so I just love that I've been finding more ways to contribute and give back. So it's really kind of surreal to experience like homelessness in this area and then also 10 years later be living here and love it. Like I really love this neighborhood. I think something everybody should do is think about their life and do they love where they live, you know, and really think about what do I love about this area? Or, you know, everybody is always thinking about somewhere else, but what do you love about your own neighborhood or community or city? Yeah, so I put signed copies of my book in the tree library, and then I track it of like how long it takes to move, and it usually takes like so I'll do it before work, which are like 12-hour shifts when I'm bartending on the weekend. So I'll put it in as I go to the train, come back at night at like 3 a.m. and it's gone, and I'm like yes. Sometimes there'll be like books. There's some garbage books that are in there. I'm not gonna lie. And then you like put it in there, and then it's gone, and all the bad books are still there. I'm like, yeah, it's a good sign. Actually, I haven't read my book really since it came out. Like I just move on, and but as I started putting copies in the tree library, I kind of went back and read some of it, and to my surprise, like it holds up. Like I'm very critical of a lot of literature, a lot of writing, and no one is more critical about myself than myself, right? And when I read it, I'm like, wow, I'm impressed. I would say the same thing now as I did when it came out in 2018. So to me, I'm really proud of that aspect, how it's like, I haven't really changed my mind at the core, and I'm proud of this book. So now why don't we talk about some of the books that I've accumulated from this, in particular, this one tree library. We got Kurt Vonnegut's Cat's Cradle. What you'll notice is that people will have multiple books of an author. So maybe their favorite author or something. So here's a Kurt Vonnegut run. We got Piano Player Piano, Mother Night. These are all Kurt Vonnegut. Bluebeard, Galapagos. So someone had a bunch of Kurt Vonnegut. Walt Whitman, Leaves of Grass. Hey, Mr. Whitman. Uptown Sinclair, The Jungle. Cool. Lolita. Isn't this interesting? So like you'll find in thrift stores the book Reading Lolita in Tehran, and this must be the original one. The book they're referring to. That's kind of meta, right? Like a book is titled about another book and the experience reading it, right? This one is Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer. I'm interested in this book. This is one of the most influential books on Paul McCartney, who I admire, and I'm a big Beatles guy, so that sticks out to me. Sophocles. Got Don DeLillo, Cosmopolis, Don DeLillo. James Joyce, Dubliners. Sound and Sense. This is a poetry book. Got Leo Tolstoy, Anna Karenina. This is a thick book. I think Tolstoy liked writing big books. Except for the one that I read. The only Tolstoy book I've read is The Death of Ivan Ilyich, which is like 100 pages. Man, big books, they have a sound to them, don't they? Okay. All right, so The Alchemist. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool when you can just like open the latch of a door, a free library in your neighborhood, and you get a book like The Alchemist. It's cool. I love this cover, by the way, too. There was a Ray Bradbury kick. So there was a like the Kurt Vonnegut ones that I was showing. Also found some Bradbury books. This is one of them, Dandelion Wine. Cormac McCarthy as well, Child of God. Sometimes you'll get some interesting ones that are kind of like just pique your interest a little bit. So this one is Mass Culture, the Popular Arts in America, and this one was published in 1964. First in 1957 and then 1964. So this is, I like old books that, yeah, I think it's really interesting. Like old books that have wear on them and they're from the 50s or 60s or before. When a book, we talked about the Lindy effect earlier, how like something non-biological is equivalent, its future is equivalent to its past. So if something's been in circulation for 40 years, there's a good chance it'll still be in circulation another 40 years. So the fact that I like have this is like 64, must be somewhat interesting. Ulysses by James Joyce. Look at that. Breakfast at Tiffany's, Truman Capote. We have Colson Whitehead's The Underground Railroad. Infinite Jest, David Foster Wallace. Imagine you find this just chilling in the free tree library. Like I said, I get really excited when I see books, and it's a level of excitement that even the thrift stores can't deliver. So there's like degrees within the book community of excitement, and just seeing this, it's like for free. Infinite Jest, and it's like what can I give, and then I give it, and I find that giving is more rewarding. Like when I will put my book in the tree, I'm like looking forward to when I come back and check it, and it'll be gone within a few hours, which is cool. This one is Evicted, and we also have, let's see, check out. Yeah, there's a lot I've I've gotten. Native Son by Richard Wright, Chicago Cat. This is one of the Ray Bradbury's. Something Wicked, This Way Comes. The Count of Monte Cristo. Oh, that's awesome, right? The Doors of Perception by Aldous Huxley. When I saw this, I was just like, wow, I'm so grateful to be living in this neighborhood. Angelus Ashes. Another Cormac McCarthy, Blood Meridian. C.S. Lewis, Mere Christianity. One time someone had a collection of F. Scott Fitzgerald books. So we have Tender is the Night, This Side of Paradise, The Great Gatsby, and The Last Tycoon. So when it's so cool. It's so cool to see the reading tastes of my own neighborhood, and like it's interesting how community works, right? In a neighborhood, you have like neighborhood is labeled as Uptown, but then you have like smaller communities within that, and then from a block, these are the types of books that circulate in my neighborhood, just on my street, and it's really cool. I'm really proud to be living here, and I'm excited. I don't have any plans to leave anytime soon. And it's inspiring. It's inspiring that you live in an area where this is possible. It's really cool. And it's something I think about and I'm grateful for. And I love that I'm able to more and more find more ways to contribute. It's fun. It's fun. Yeah, it's life is good. Life is good.